Katie has two questions. She wants to know, does gluten cause anemia and can it cause bone loss? So let's back up. Gluten, yes, it absolutely can cause anemia. One of the biggest forms of anemia we see is vitamin B12 deficiency, which can cause a specific type of anemia called macrocytic anemia, which leads to shortness of breath, fatigue, brain fog, muscle aches and pains, and just extreme fatigue. We also see iron deficiency anemia develop in a lot of people with gluten sensitivity because gluten disrupts the absorption of iron. And of course, iron is necessary to form the protein inside of your cells called hemoglobin, which is what carries oxygen to all the tissues of your body so that you can create energy. So two kinds of anemia, predominantly B12 and iron deficiency. Now on to part two of the question, can gluten cause bone loss? It absolutely can. Some research shows that the malnourishment and the malabsorption caused by gluten damage to the intestines leads to a bone loss caused, again, by nutritional deficits. So things like calcium and zinc and magnesium deficiency, copper, selenium, all these are minerals required for bone health and bone mineralization. When you have malabsorption from gut damage, you can develop bone loss in that way. Now, there's some new research that shows that osteoporosis is also an autoimmune reaction, and we believe that gluten is responsible in part for stimulating this autoimmune reaction against the proteins of bone themselves. So, malnutrition and autoimmunity are both mechanisms by which gluten can induce bone loss. Thanks for asking your question, Katie. Tina writes in saying, where do I start? I'm already gluten-free and have been that way for 8 years. My gut never feels good and I'm at a complete loss. So the first thing I would say, Tina, if you're on a gluten-free diet, you have to ask yourself, are you on a healthy gluten-free diet? I'm going to provide a resource below for you. I want you to register, it's free, for my master class on how to go gluten-free the right way. So many people do it and they continue to eat certain foods that mimic gluten. Certain processed additives can mimic gluten. Some medications that people are taking can damage their GI tract and keep them from recovering. And this class covers it all in very great detail. Again, I'm going to put that link just below this video so that you can get free access to the Glutenology Masterclass. Thanks for writing in. Carrie wants to know, why do I still get stomach issues even though I'm gluten-free? A couple of things that you can try, Carrie. Number one, you may have more than just a gluten reaction. It's very common for those with gluten sensitivity also to be reactive to other foods. So you might consider getting with your doctor or a good functional medicine provider and asking them to test you for food reactivity. And it's very important, we're not talking about food allergy as much as we're talking about food sensitivity. They're very different things. And food sensitivity is, again, very common after getting off of gluten. The other thing that you might consider is what else you're eating. One of the other reasons people have persistent GI problems on a gluten-free diet is that they're picking all of the wrong foods, the processed gluten-free products that contain corn and rice and xanthan gum and other fillers. Those things can mimic and behave like gluten, creating gastrointestinal issues. And so you might check your diet and make sure you're not getting those things. Now, I'm going to put below this video a link to my master class where I go into depth about all of these things, and it's free for you to watch. You just have to register. Again, it's called the Glutenology Masterclass, and I think if you check that out, you might find a more in-depth answer for why your GI issues are persisting even though you're gluten-free. Mila writes in with this question. Is it true that for someone who is not gluten sensitive that going on a gluten-free diet will actually cause them to become gluten sensitive later? Answer, no. Gluten sensitivity, you either have it or you don't, right? And it's very much a genetic issue. If you have the genes that predispose you to react to gluten and you consume gluten, your body will produce an inflammatory response against that gluten. So stopping gluten and then reintroducing it won't make you more sensitive. Again, you either have the genes or you don't. If you want to learn more about the genetics of gluten sensitivity, I'm going to put a link below this video that you can check out and learn all about gluten and genetics and gluten reactions. Thanks for asking your question. Sandy writes in, she wants to know, why does gluten cause severe migraines and just general malaise when I eat it? Very simply put, gluten is a neurotoxin. There have been a number of research studies connecting gluten as a trigger to migraine headaches. So if you've got migraines and you don't know why, going gluten-free might just be a smart move for you to make. Now, I'm going to put a comprehensive article below on migraines and migraine triggers, including gluten, for you so that you can learn a little bit more about that and that connection between gluten and headaches. Thanks for sending your question in. So Mika writes in and asks, what's the best supplement to take if I'm having gluten withdrawal symptoms? This is a great question. Many people going off of gluten can have almost like a withdrawal, like a drug addiction, like withdrawal reaction that can include headaches, low-grade fever, chills, shakes, irritability, mood swings, muscle cramps, muscle spasms, common symptoms of gluten withdrawal. Now, if you're struggling in that regard, some things that you can do to help support your body to offset that, two of my favorite, number one is vitamin C at higher doses. Vitamin C is actually used in a lot of addiction clinics. A lot of doctors will use high doses of vitamin C to help their patients overcome withdrawal symptoms. So I like a good 5 grams of vitamin C for an adult. Now, another nutrient that might be very helpful is vitamin B3, also used in many addiction clinics to help with withdrawal symptoms. So vitamin C and vitamin B3, also referred to sometimes as niacin, might be extremely helpful. Now, one other thing that you might consider taking as well is just a really solid multivitamin. Many people going gluten-free are severely malnourished, and so getting off that gluten, along with those side effects and along with the gluten-induced malnutrition, just adding that multivitamin in can really help support the body's ability to heal and recover. So a good quality multi, a good quality high-dose vitamin C, and a very good quality vitamin B3. Those three would be the things I would say. Start with that. Won't hurt you, but it might very well help support you on your way. I'm going to put some links to some of our favorite gluten-free supplements below for you, and you can go check those out. Mara writes in with a pretty lengthy question. She says, I have celiac disease and have been totally gluten-free and soy-free for 12 years. I get horrible peripheral neuropathy pain all over my arms and legs fairly consistently, and doctors don't know why or what to do for me other than medicate me with gabapentin, which I refuse. Is my peripheral neuropathy related to celiac disease? Well, it's hard to say, Mara. There's a lot of things that go into the development of peripheral neuropathy. Certainly celiac disease and the malnutrition that comes with it can cause neuropathy. That's very well studied. I've seen that clinically a number of times. Now, that being said, you should ask your doctors, if they haven't, to check you for nutritional deficiencies, because peripheral neuropathy is oftentimes a manifestation of B vitamin deficiency, particularly B12, B5, B1, and folate. So those 4 B vitamins are notorious for contributing to the neurological symptoms associated with celiac disease. It's because celiac causes malnutrition. So, even though you've been gluten-free for years, you may have dug such a nutritional hole for yourself that your nerves need extra B vitamins in order to heal and repair. So ask your doctors to measure those nutrients, and it's important to make sure that you ask them to measure intracellular, not serum levels, but intracellular levels. Serum levels give you false normals oftentimes. So you get the test and it shows everything looks good, but in actuality, inside of your cells, you don't have enough of those B vitamins. So ask for intracellular levels. The other thing that you might want to consider, there's 2 other very big things that I have seen cause persistent peripheral neuropathy in people after going off of gluten. Number 1 is other food reactions. If you haven't asked your doctors to measure those other food reactions, you could have some other food reactions that are contributing to nerve damage, so get those checked out. Number 2, mold toxicity. I see this all the time in people who are in environmental mold. Their house has water damage or there's some type of mold internally, and so they are developing nerve damage as a result of exposure from mold toxins. And so again, you can ask your doctor to measure you for mycotoxin levels. So you've got 3 pieces of homework there. B vitamins, ask your doctor to measure the intracellular. Other food reactions, ask to measure for food sensitivity. And then mold, ask your doctor to measure for mycotoxins. And those 3 things just might give you the answer that you've been missing for these last 12 years. Renata writes in and asks, why does digestion slow down during menopause and what can I do about it? So Renata, one of the things that's recently been discovered is that estrogen is very important for GI tract function. And so going through menopause, a lot of women's estrogen levels will drop. I don't know if you've had your estrogen levels measured. Might be a good idea that you visit your OB-GYN or other doctor and have those measured and see just how low they actually are. There are certain medicines that you can take, like bioavailable or bioidentical estrogen drugs, which would have to be prescribed by your doctor, but some people opt for some natural things that can interfere, I shouldn't say interfere, I should say interact with your estrogen receptors. And so these are often referred to as adaptogens. And some of the best estrogen adaptogens are things like Vitex, Agnus Castus, and black cohosh. As a matter of fact, we have a formula called Women's Balance, and that formula is used in some of these situations to support digestion. Now, you might also consider that menopause has nothing to do with it, and that age and the advanced age is actually playing a role here. One of the things that happens in the GI tract as we age is there can be a slowdown of digestive enzyme and digestive acid secretion. And so you might have a problem with the quantity of enzymes and acid that you're producing to help digest your food. This can also slow down motility. So you might try supplementing with a digestive enzyme. You might try supplementing with something like a digestive acid like betaine hydrochloride. Some people also take a couple of teaspoons of apple cider vinegar before a meal and see if that helps to improve their digestion and motility. So check those things out. Come back and let us know how they worked out for you.